Swaggy Vets Attention! Right pace forward!
You are now on the set of the Swaggy Vets show. We do it for the sisters, bros, from coast to coast. A place where it's safe to go to make sure that a soldier's stories are told. All around the globe, going worldwide, representing military pride. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
You should already be at the position of a 10 for them boys when they come out. The original first Swaggy veteran. And then you got that boy Big Pen. Hey man, salute me or shoot me. And if you ain't no vet, you better not talk like one.
Boom. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Swaggy Vet Podcast. I'm your host, Big Pen. I got my co-host. He's out the loop right now, but hey, the show must go on. We got an amazing guest today. But first, I need to do some housekeeping. All right, we got the Warrior Weekend coming up. The Warrior Weekend is down in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be September 5th, 6th, and 7th. So if you guys want to come out, hang out with the Swaggy Vet crew, hit us up. Now, this is free to first responders and to veterans and active duty. So if you fall into those categories, let us know. You can come out, hang out with the Swaggy Vet crew. All right, we got an amazing guest today. All right. This individual is a retired U.S. Army colonel who served our nation for almost 3 decades, leading in both combat and medical operations around the world, from the battlefield to the classroom. He's dedicated in his life to service, mentoring the next generation, while his JROTC air rifle team rose to become Army and CMP national champs. A licensed boat captain and a man with an extraordinary life story. He embodies leadership, resilience, and the spirit of a true warrior. We're going to bring to the stage Dr. Stephen Baker.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me. And I'm fired up to talk to you today. So let's do it.
Awesome. Well, let's start off with what made you want to join the Army? What was going through your mind when you said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and raise my hand and take that leap?
I think for me, because I was still in high school, and I was initially trying to go into the Navy because the Navy was closer. The Naval Academy it was closer to where I lived in Maryland, and so I had applied both to the Naval Academy and to West Point in New York.
Okay.
And I had been to the Naval Academy lacrosse camp, and I had won an outstanding attackman award. So they were kind of pulling for me a little bit. But I had also was being recruited by the coach up at West Point. And so it was kind of like having been the oldest of 4 in the family, I felt like I needed to, if I could get a scholarship so that the other college money could go to the other kids.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you love our content, and we hope you do, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Let's go.
That were coming behind me. And so that's what I was trying to do. So I really was set on finding a way to pay for college more than thinking about a career of service at that time.
Okay.
And of course, I wanted to play ball.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of worked out. I got accepted to West Point, and I was waiting on a waiver from the Navy, and because I needed a waiver from my eyesight. And once the letter from the Army came, I didn't wait, and I had a connection to West Point anyway because my grandfather was a class of '36 graduate. He served a full career. He retired as a colonel. Also, he was a glider, field artillery battalion commander in World War II. He earned the Silver Star during Operation Varsity, going over the Rhine. Incredible action. If you've ever seen a glider, I know you've been to the museum, you've seen them. I'd much rather be under canopy than be in a glider, especially with the snub nose 105 sitting in there with me.
Yep.
But they landed right on top of a German position, and they had to use the They had to use the 105s in direct fire mode. That's how close the fight was. But they eventually secured the position. Then he went on to become. Back then, they got promoted during the wartime, and then after the war, they got bumped back down in rank. So he had commanded as a lieutenant colonel, and then actually went all the way up to be a full colonel, and the Davarti commander at Bragg.
Oh wow!
And then he got bumped back down to major.
What?
After the war, yeah. And
Oh,
then
okay.
he was in the 10th Airborne in Japan, and then he was in Korea with the 7th ID during Yalu River when the Chinese came across. He was the G4 of the division. He was one of the more senior officers that were forward when the Chinese came across. So
Wow.
he had a pretty interesting career as a field artilleryman. And then he came back to DC and he retired just before Vietnam really kicked off, and he became a civil servant for the Department of Transportation, and then he worked a second career there. So he was my lineage and legacy into getting into the military and continuing the tradition. But initially, I was only worried about how am I going to get my college paid for, and then I soon realized once I got there that I was in for more than in for more than one reason. Put it that way.
Yeah, so you was pretty determined to get into West Point. Like you wanted to go to Navy, but you actually got into West Point. How did that feel when you got that letter and you said, "Okay, you're accepted to West Point. You're going."
Yeah, I was ecstatic. I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how hard it was going to be.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to want to quit every day. But um, I wouldn't have traded it in terms of an education for anything. And I think it set me up to be successful for my first few years in the Army. I think academy graduates, they have a little bit advantage early in their career, but after 2 or 3 years, all the guys that come from the other sources of commissioning, whether it's ROTC or OCS, the good ones, they come out and shine regardless. But it gives you a little bit of head up, at least for the first couple of years, because you've been living it at least. The guys are doing ROTC at the regular college, it's kind of a part-time thing as opposed to a full-time thing. So, but it gives you a good foundation, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I had the pleasure to in 2005. We went for the summer to help train the cadets at West Point, and it was definitely an eye opener to see the level of training they get, and hardcore they go over the summer because they go really hard during the summer, and then they get those great opportunities. Like we had the Met team from like the air assault school come give air assault classes, and a couple of us were able to go to the air assault class, so that was really cool, and I enjoyed it. So we're able to see, just what they go through and that level of training that they receive. Was there ever a moment while you were in West Point, you're like, man, what did I get myself into? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. especially during that first summer when they're you know trying to stress you out and trying to make you quit, and during that same as basic training, right? They're just trying to beat you down
yeah,
and then build you back up. But during that time, I also got some letters in the mail saying, you got accepted to this ROTC program at University of Virginia. You got accepted to this ROTC program at, University of Florida or wherever. And then I was like, all right, well, maybe I don't need to put up with all this. But, the longer you stay there, the harder it is to quit.
yeah, I got you. Now you've held some very serious commands within the 82nd. You commanded in combat. Was there any one defining moment that truly tested your leadership within your commands?
I think every command has been a little bit different. I mean, when I was a company commander, I think the the challenge of um, getting ready to almost jump into Haiti was palpable. I mean, we had a really tough mission. We were supposed to clear the runway so that the second echelon could air land, and I had the division commander come up to me as a captain while I'm doing JMPI on the ramp, saying,
Oh wow.
"Hey, you're gonna have the runway cleared by H+2 because I don't want to jump the next echelon." Like, what am I gonna say? Yes, sir. You know, it was a 10,000-foot runway with all kind of stuff driven out on it, you know, each night to try to prevent us from doing what we were going to do. You know, it ended up being a big giant U-turn for us. You know, we got all those birds in the air. We got all that aircrafts and equipment getting ready to do that drop, and we turned around, you know, a little bit more than halfway there, and we did it the other way. But you know, that was, as a company commander, that was a pretty significant challenge. And we went straight from, you know, ramping off from that big event right into the, you know, getting ready and doing a deployment down at the Joint Readiness Training Center. And so that was under General Abizade, or back then Colonel Abizade. It was, you know, it was 82nd through and through. You know the deal.
Yeah.
As a battalion commander, you were there with me. You know,
Yeah.
you know, going for 16 months it was challenging in so many ways you can't even describe that. And then the type of mission that we had, trying to cover 3 provinces with our relatively small unit, and then having the other companies of our battalion, the comm and the military intelligence, spread all over the whole RC East. You know, it was a challenging job, and we were strung out. We were on the road. You were with me. We were on the road,
Yep.
you know, 5 out of the 7 days a week, because we had to go visit each province, every governor, every chief of police, every NDS guy, and we had more time than any of our platoons on the road. I know.
Oh, 100%. We even met Karzai, President Karzai.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And that, of course, you know, the biggest thing that happened during that deployment, you know, was the ambush in Pakistan that
oh
took the
man.
life of Larry Bogus, our
Yeah.
S3, and that was, you know, it would have been terrible no matter who it was, but his wife, being the family support group leader, because my wife was in command at the same time, she was in another location, and you know, his kids knowing my kids, it made it much more personal,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
and having to call her was harder than being there when it happened.
Oh, I couldn't even
So
imagine. I couldn't even imagine.
yeah, and I think most civilians can't imagine something like that, but it you got to get through it, you know, and part of getting through that, you know, involved Major Radishak. Major Radishak, if you remember him, he ended up staying instead of going to his follow-on assignment, because we had to get a new S3 in there. We didn't want to lose the S3 and the XO at the same time. So, you know, that really, it made a big difference for the leadership of the unit at the time.
Radishak was a rock star. He was a rock star.
Yeah. And then he ended up staying here in this area, became the PMS for the ROTC up at NC State. So I got to stay tight with him. I'm still pretty tight with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's still a great guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
And brigade level command is totally different. Brigade level command for me was most all civilians, you know, and going from troops to civilians, you know, from your transition, that's a whole different style of leadership.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had to definitely transition and kind of
Yeah, you got to dial it down.
rethink some leadership styles here. Now, with that incident that happened, did that kind of reshape the way you saw your, like, the whole war and team and everything?
It just kind of refocused my sense of mortality.
Okay.
Because it really only mattered where you were standing when that guy opened up with his weapon. I mean, I was supposed to be in the back of that truck where Larry was, because I had jumped in the back of the truck, and then that after the Pakistani general said, no, you need to come up here and sit in this truck with me, because he was all worried about, rank. And we were only going right around the corner. I knew it was not that far a drive. I
Yep.
was just trying to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then right as soon as I got in the other vehicles, when everything opened up, and it was, it was chaos. So, and yeah. So I replay that a lot in my head. What should I seen? What should I known? That it was gonna go south that fast. And we were surrounded by about 100 Pakistanis. There wasn't a whole lot we could do, but we did the best we could.
Mm-hmm.
And there was more than that one guy shooting at us. I know that too, despite what some of the reports came out were.
Yeah, old Ader put it down for us. Old Justin Ader.
What's that?
Old Justin
Yeah.
Ader, he put that 249 to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember the doc. The doc was there.
Yeah, Doc was
The
there.
doc's the one that shoot the primary shooter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was crazy, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine. Let's talk about, remember we got ambushed on Route Georgia. Yeah, I mean, but your vehicle got hit with the RPG, and that's when Stewart got hurt.
Yeah.
How'd you stay composed when all the chaos is exploding around us? How do you think that?
And it was kind of shocking, because they think about all the times that they shot at us, and they almost never hit us.
Never.
Normally in a situation like that, if they shot that many RPGs, they wouldn't hit us at all.
I know.
But that day they hit the 2 vehicles in front of us, and then my vehicle got hit with 3. And so that's the difference between being shot at, which makes you feel alive, and then actually being hit, which makes you keenly aware of your mortality in less than 5 seconds, right? So I blew a switch, right? Once I knew we were under attack, it's the same way I get when anybody is shooting at us. The whole time we were there, I know we never shot first. But when somebody shoots at us, I'm like, okay, if it's going to be me or you, it's going to be you. And so I just turn into, okay, now we're all right. Now game on, right? And so, but I got delayed in that because I couldn't get out of the vehicle initially, because when Stewart fell out, the vehicle went into the side of the cliff, and my door was jammed. And so I couldn't get out my door. I had to go out the back door, and my Terp didn't want to get out initially.
No, he didn't.
No, but when I gave him my other weapon, then he got out. And so, he ended up doing the right thing. And then, we got out and laid down fire, and, eventually those guys, took off. But, the other incident that kind of haunts me sometime, you think about some combat experiences that when that guy rode up on that motorcycle in between my vehicle and the trail vehicle, and, I was keenly aware of the Taliban tactic of trying to get a suicide bomber into a situation like that. And I turned around, and I was this close to blowing that guy's head off, because I wasn't going to take the chance for the rest of the crew. But I could tell when I looked at him, I could tell that it wasn't the case. He just was wrong place, wrong time. And I yelled at the Terp, and the Terp went up there and grabbed him and threw him down in the ditch so he didn't get shot. But nothing would have happened to me if I blew him away. But I just think about that split second decision. Why or why not?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have felt bad about it or not. I mean, there's other situations where I called for fire when I knew bad guys were shooting at us, and I was okay with dropping a 500-pound bomb on them. I did not care. I slept fine that night. But that one messed with me a little bit, because I almost did it.
Yeah. So I know civilians, they don't really get a glimpse. Like they can see what happens on the news and on TV. What do you think? One thing command and leadership in combat most civilians don't understand, but they need to.
Well, I think from watching my wife transition into the business world,
Mm-hmm.
um, they they deal in um, livelihood and numbers and finances, but not in lives, actual lives. You know, the things that you do or don't do can cost lives, not just livelihoods, but lives. You know, things that happen in the business world, if they screw something up and the company goes down and people can get fired, all that bad stuff can happen. Don't get me wrong. It's still important, but it's not the same as firefighters, police, or military, where if you make a bad mistake, you know, or you don't train properly, you're putting your people at risk of not coming home.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a different thing. That's a
Mm-hmm.
whole different thing. I'd say, you know, emergency services, fire, police, they have some of the same situation, but um, you know, most of the time, not all the time, there's not people shooting at them, but sometimes there is. So,
Oh man.
um,
What do you think? Was there ever a day in uniform that reminds you exactly of why you signed up? Because I know
yeah, when
I,
I think,
I know right now you're helping train the next generation. So that's
yeah, I got incredible job satisfaction of being able to help some kids. You know, you can't save them all. I would say 30% or more are living with one parent or no parents because their parents are on drugs, in jail, you name it, you know. And so
wow.
they're living with grandparents or they're living with family friends. And so to give them uh, guidance and support and a pathway to success, whether it's in the military or not, just a pathway to success is very rewarding. The same kind of rewarding feeling that you get when you're leading in the army, particularly when, like, you remember when we came back. You know, when we come back off that plane and we had most of us. You know, we didn't bring Larry back, but we brought everybody else back.
Mm-hmm.
We had some injuries, you know, both physically and mentally, but you know, I think we trained hard so that we could get to that situation where we brought most people back,
Mm-hmm.
and that's incredibly rewarding too. So
Absolutely. So let's talk about transitioning out. You know, you got almost 3 decades in the military, wearing the uniform and training soldiers, multiple combat deployments and multiple commands. What was going through your mind as the final days were winding down? Was it bittersweet? Did you feel like I'm ready to go, or what was going through your mind?
well, as I mentioned earlier, I think based on the jobs that I had and the ratings that I got, you know, I could have thrown my hat in the ring and tried to get a star. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
had the right jobs, I had the right ratings and all that stuff, but still, I realized that it would be a crapshoot. You know, it's kind of luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Who's on the board? You know, how many slots do engineers get this year? Whatever. And I wasn't willing to um, put the rest of the family, my wife in particular, who was already making much more money than me, through a bunch of more moves to make that happen.
Okay.
So I made a conscious decision based on uh, tapping down my ego and and making a financial choice that I think was best for us. And then I kind of fell into the teaching gig, and it allowed me to keep serving in a way and also do some of the things that I wanted to do, like coach lacrosse, coach Raiders, coached these other teams that I coach now, from drone and robotics and, all these other things that I coach now. So,
Well, so you mentioned, kind of falling into teaching JROTC by accident. How'd that happen? Let's talk about that.
Well, when I had my retirement date, I started looking for what I was going to do. Frankly, I wish I had taken some more time, but this job opportunity kind of fell out. And I started working, not even a month after the retirement ceremony. I was still on terminal leave. I wasn't even off the Army paycheck yet, and I was already back at work.
Oh, wow.
So but it opened, and I figured, well, I'll try this, because it was something there. If I'd gone into consulting or engineering like my wife did, I would have potentially been competing with a different firm and doing the same type of stuff, construction management or project management or anything like that. So I said, well, let's give this a go. And it was rewarding also, in the sense that we got 3 instructors. I got 2 other instructors in there that know what the military is about, and you have that same comradeship and understanding about what right looks like. And so, that helped my transition immensely. So,
is it easy dealing with these kids nowadays?
no, no. But I mean, down in where we're at, we've been exacting a standard that I think other people are going to now, which is, we make them put their phones in this locker.
Okay, good.
And so we don't have this drama where they're picking up their phone every 5 minutes. They put it away, and they lock it, and they put the key around their neck, and then we go through the whole period, and then they go. So they always have control over it, but they're not tempted to break it out and start doing stuff with it.
Oh, that's good.
So the phone is such a distraction. Such a distraction.
God. Yeah. Even with regular people, because even me, I had to put myself on a schedule, because I noticed I would be sitting on my phone scrolling aimlessly, and an hour or two's gone by. I'm like, what? I didn't accomplish nothing I said I was trying to do. So I had to.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So.
And then the other thing is just, the personal drama that a lot of these kids go through, in terms of, being hungry, not being well cared for. You don't have to have a license to procreate, and some of these parents do not do a good job at all, and they just want the school to do it, and so that's a challenge as well. But if they don't, if I got a real problem with the kid, it's a volunteer program. So if I got a problem with them, and I call the parents, and they're cussing at the parents and don't listen to the parents, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to be the disciplinarian. So, I go up to the counselor and say, little Johnny can't be here anymore, because he's not going to listen to somebody at the house. He's not just going to all of a sudden listen to me.
Yeah.
So,
did you have any trouble transitioning? Did you encounter any depression or anything like that getting out?
I had some residual stuff not from our deployment, even though that was much more violent.
Yeah.
But from the time when I was the CJOC director, doing the reverse cycle and not getting sleep because people don't care what's going on during the daytime. I had sleep apnea, and I had that affected me negatively for a while, but I've improved from that position. But I didn't have like a lot of PTSD or anything like that. I didn't have a lot of issues, or I do a good job of compartmentalizing it. And that's, I never have done a lot of counseling or anything like that, but I avoid drinking too much, because when I do that, then some of that stuff starts creeping out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I tend not to do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I know with me, I kind of transitioning out, I fell into some depression. I because you go from being in the military as long as, I didn't do 20 almost 30 years, but I right at 20, and then you get out and you're doing this, you have a schedule for
Yeah,
X amount of time, and you're in charge of this, in charge of that, and you get out. It's like, well, what am I gonna do now? I kind of trying to had to find myself again almost, and it was hard. And then it was just hard. So I definitely had to go to get some counseling and stuff. And that's one thing we advocate here is, hey, sit down on the couch, talk to somebody, talk to your friends, have somebody you can trust to talk to. So
absolutely. I think because I stayed in a routine,
yeah, that's what I was gonna
with
say. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I stayed around vets,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I stayed around the culture of the military. It was less traumatic for me than it might have been if I'd gone straight into the business world like my wife did. You know, so I can see that.
Yeah. What's one of the biggest surprises you ran into getting transitioning out into civilian life that maybe you didn't
Um,
think of?
well, I think dealing with civilians, like you said before, is a whole
Oh,
different ball of wax.
yeah.
But my brigade level command was with mostly civilians, so I think that prepared me a little bit more, even though those civilians were Department of Army civilians. Um, dealing with school administration and school staff is that's a whole nother that's a whole nother area.
Yeah.
A lot more in education, they're a lot more liberal, a lot younger.
Hmm.
So um, I had to I had to throttle back, adjust my reaction to some things, and like you mentioned before, like when you're around your military guys, sometimes you start going back into that jargon, and some of the cuss words come out and whatever, and you just gotta realize your audience,
Hmm.
check your audience and adjust fire. Uh, you know, that didn't work so good when I got on the lacrosse field. I kind of went back into combat mode on the lacrosse field as a coach, but in the classroom I could keep it under wraps.
Well, I mean, I've known you since 2000. What? We deployed in 2007, and we did a 15-month
Yeah.
deployment. And being on your PSD, you've always had a really good leadership style. You just didn't like BS, and you called it out when there was BS. So as long as you made sense,
Yeah.
you made sense, and it was good to go. You didn't really have a problem with people. So I know that.
Well, that's the problem on the civilian side. You see the BS and you know it, and you try to protect your people from it.
Mhm.
But when you're not in charge, you can't you know totally get rid of it, especially in a scenario where I'm at, where I got two bosses. I got the Army
Mhm.
is one of my bosses up at Fourth Brigade at Fort Bragg, and then the principal and the superintendent are my other boss. And I gotta, and trust me, there's a lot of stupid things that are coming from both of those organizations
Oh man.
that I got to decide if I'm going to fall on the sword for, or if I can just you know roll it slowly so I can protect the unit from it.
You
So
got kind of pick and choose
that's probably
your
the biggest
battles.
challenge.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose your battles, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Can't fall on every sword.
yeah.
So
So a lot of veterans think retirement means rest. I mean, you just dove right back into it when you got out. Being a mentor, teacher, and now a boat captain. What makes you keep chasing new missions?
I think I think for me that you gotta keep pushing, because if you're not moving forward and you're just treading water,
Hmm.
you're mentally and physically you're gonna stagnate. And so that's you know doing the ROTC job, I knew it wasn't I didn't know exactly what it was going to be because I was never in JROTC as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew it was going to be challenging. And then starting a doctorate, trying this thing with the boat captain license, I just feel like you can never stop learning. If you stop learning, then you stop living. So you always got to look for something. And it doesn't have to be something you put on the wall. You could be learning a language or traveling or whatever, but you gotta keep moving forward and not treading water, or else I think it affects you mentally and physically. And you've seen this too. I know you've seen it. Some vets that serve a full career and then they retire and don't do anything, and they end up dead in 2 years.
Oh yeah.
I, I don't want to be that guy.
You stop living and just merely existing. And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And that's why we kind of started Swaggy Vets. My counterpart, he started Swaggy Vets. He brought me on. He's like, "Hey, I need your help. We got to take this to the next level." Then we started the podcast, and just talking. Because as veterans, what do we like to do? We like to sit down and talk to each other. Just BS and converse. And
Yeah,
this is like therapy to me. Just being able to talk to one of my old commanders here, and
me too.
yeah,
Me too.
yeah. And then being able to talk to other individuals and just getting their story. And then who knows, it helps the masses, hopefully. So
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
Well, I know if you got the organizations that kind of help the ROTC in my area, the American Legion and
Yep.
the VFWs, I get some of that from them, but a lot of those guys, they served like 2 or 3 years, and then they're they're telling me war stories about 2 or 3 years, and and it's not the same as somebody who's a 20-year vet. It's different.
Yeah. Do you have anybody that's ever transitioned and say, "Hey, Dr. Baker, you got any advice for me?"
Yeah, I mean, I would harken back to what I said before. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Keep swimming. Keep finding something that you have passion for, so that you don't stagnate and start sinking. Because and I'd say the other thing is the other thing that you mentioned, right? You gotta have uh, a way to self care. You got to have some
Yep.
self care, whether that's talking to your buddies, talking to a therapist if you find one that you like, or you know, um, doing something that gives you purpose. That's the biggest thing. You got to have purpose, and Swaggy Vets is a purpose for you, and I think it's awesome.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So looking at everything you built over your Army career, you're able to achieve your doctrine. Now you're mentoring cadets. Do you think you define success different now, being through everything you've been through?
Um, yeah, I would, but I've never really thought about leadership as a destination.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever be the best leader I can be, because I think it's a journey. It's not a destination. So I'm constantly learning how to be a better leader in all kind of different aspects of my life, whether it's in the family, or at school, or in some civic organizations that I belong to, and I'm always learning something. And I'm a leader. I'm a follower. I think you have to be able to be a follower to be a good leader. And so I think the whole idea that my leadership journey is never going to be a destination is something that keeps me going.
Okay. Now let's talk about this. The boat captain. What made you want to do
Well,
that?
some of that was not purely motivational in terms of learning, because the course was actually harder than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
But and the test was harder than I thought it was going to be too. But I passed it. But it started about looking at the next phase after this, about what can I do that I enjoy, but that I can do on my terms, in terms of, I'm not working a 9 to 5 clock anymore. I can take what customers I want, and not work when I don't want to work, and um, enjoy the outside, enjoy the fresh air, and so it just kind of fell into, okay, well, I can do this, and also maybe do some remote adjunct professing for some online university, and that's enough to maintain purpose, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
Maintain purpose and enjoy life, but throttle back a little bit, but not totally, so you don't have no purpose.
But you want to turn that into a business, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's the plan, and part of that has to do with being able to write off some of the marina expenses and
Okay.
gas, and
There
so
you go.
some of it's financial as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So if you could go back, a couple years ago and talk to that Stephen A. Baker going in as a cadet to West Point, what do you think advice you could give him right now would be?
I would say, don't be overly concerned about what people are telling you should do. In terms of your career path, don't be beholden to career advice. Do what makes you happy. Do what you want to do. I would have never came back to the 82nd if I followed, the rule at the time was, you gotta get experience in all different types of units, or you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
So, I would have never had that chance to be your battalion commander, and that
Mhm.
and that experience was, there's never going to be anything like that. And even my brigade commander stuff was nothing compared to that tour in Afghanistan
Yeah.
with you guys. Nothing.
I'll,
Nothing ever will.
I'll tell you, we had a really good bunch of guys. Our cohesion was on point, and I mean, it took a little bit to get there, but once we were, at once we were there, it was like a well-oiled machine, and I really enjoyed everything that we done. I learned so much from that deployment. I learned a lot from your mentorship, a lot from Lieutenant Stockwell, and Sarn Borsma. I learned a lot from all those individuals, and I felt like I was a better soldier coming out of that deployment.
Me too, definitely, definitely.
All right, so besides the boat thing, you got anything else coming up in the future?
I'm gonna try to use this doctorate to adjunct profess. Be a part-time professor. I haven't nailed down exactly where or what yet, but it's going to be something related to my doctorate in management or my master's in civil engineering. I'm not sure which I'm going to use, but um, I like teaching. I want to be a part of that. You know, teaching, coaching, mentoring, but not at the same not at the same pace I've been doing it.
I got
So,
you. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you and my counterpart. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experiences and sharing everything you got going on. And we really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
well, I appreciate you having me, and I think you got a good thing going here, and I wish you continued success. And personally, uh, this is the one thing that I always say. Uh, when I get to see somebody from the past like you,
Hmm.
is, I probably didn't say this enough uh, when I was there with you, but I thank you. I thank you so much for everything you did for me, and
Sure.
all those guys that were around us. I feel the same closeness and tightness about what we achieved, and that's mostly because of you guys, not because of me.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. We couldn't do it without your leadership. So thank you. Well, thanks for tuning in, y'all. On the next one, stay swaggy, stay strong. Peace.